YouTube Ozico and the Goat House is back. Today I'm going through every NFL team and I'm giving you their best draft pick, in my opinion, from the 2023 NFL Draft. To determine the best pick for each team, it's a combination of value and fit. If they can make an early impact, that's kind of a bonus as well. So we have videos like this. We have grades, rankings, winners, losers from the draft. We got free agency videos and more. We're starting to do more YouTube shorts and TikToks. So make sure you follow us on TikTok as well. As a link pinned in the comments for that. Anything else that you're looking for, our Twitter, very important to follow that. Sponsors, links pinned in the comments. Liquid IV, GLD Shop. Cool stuff there. Check it out. Code GOAT. We're going to go through every team here and going by division. So starting with the AFC East. For the Bills, I thought their best pick was O'Cyrus Torrence. That was in round 2, obviously the guard from Florida, for multiple reasons. I mean, this was a realistic pick for them in round 1, so that makes it a good value pick in round 2, but it was a realistic pick for them in round 1 because it was a fit and a need. They needed a guard, and I was a little worried they were going to, because sometimes the Bills rely on what they have, rely on development a little bit. And I was afraid they weren't going to get better there because that's kind of been something that's kind of holding them back a little bit, kind of getting over that hump. So they get lucky and get Torrence dropping them to round 2. I think he should be a plug-and-play starter, got a lot of upside. The Dalton Kincaid pick is really growing on me just based on how they're going to switch it up and the weapon that he's going to be, the mismatch he's going to be. But in terms of value, fit, again, the fact that they could have got him in the first and got him in the second, that is huge. That is why he's on this list here. The Jets, tough decision between the two Pittsburgh guys that I loved a lot for the Jets, for anybody, whoever got him, but the Jets end up getting him. Yeah, tough not going Israel Abanikando, my 3rd overall running back that the Jets got in the 5th round. But yeah, how much, I mean, he should get reps early on, but how much is he really going to, how many reps is he really going to get? To me, Carter Warren can earn a starting job. It might be a little tough, but he could do that. He's that good. He's a very solid pass protector. He could improve in terms of run blocking, but I'd rather have it that way. He had a really good tape, mainly in 2021, 2022. He only played a few games, 4 games because of an injury, but the tape was good. I had a 2nd-round grade on him. So the fact that he could start, if he doesn't start, a legitimate backup, which they needed because they have injuries, and the value on top of it, that is what got Carter Warren here in this video for the Jets. Patriots, you got to go with Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback from Oregon. They had quite a few good picks. It was very, very, very tough not going Kayshon Boutte because I'm a big Boutte fan, and the Patriots getting him so late, and I think he can be a plug-and-play guy right away. I think he's better than maybe what his testing scores showed at the Combine. I think he's better than what people give him credit for. So that was one of my favorite picks of the draft as well. And they had other good ones, too. I was a big Marte Mapu fan. But I got to go Gonzalez. I mean, my 5th overall player in the draft, number 1 corner. He was not supposed to be. They traded back and got him. Extreme value there. So I got to go with Gonzalez, who, I mean, so good in man. Good in zone, too, but so good in man coverage. So good in press. Going to Bill Belichick and the Patriots man defense. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely, you got to go Gonzalez for the Patriots. And then the Dolphins didn't have many picks. The Cam Smith pick, was it tremendous value? Not really. Pretty good value. I mean, he could have went late first. I 2nd round is what I thought. But he's a playmaker, especially when he's got his eyes on the quarterback and he's able to, kind of scan the field and jump routes or just jump the ball. Where he struggled a little bit was man coverage. But you will see Fangio running a bit of cover 4, especially with Ramsey in there. It was a cover 4 king. So Smith can help play in that. I know they do have the best duo in football in the cornerback position, but Smith has some reps in the slot, so he can help them there. He can help them as a strong backup at outside corner. But the way he thrives on defense is, watching the quarterback, making a play on the ball, just kind of, face towards the quarterback. You're not really a man with his back turned. So, I mean, that almost says safety too. So could he be good as a safety if they need him there? So I think he could play all over the secondary. That's a unique pick, in my opinion, for those reasons. The NFC East teams, Washington, I'm going to go with Braden Daniels. I liked him at tackle because he was good there, but the thought of him playing guard, yes, has a lot of upside. I think he'll be very good there as well. But Washington, he could use the help in either spot. Probably more likely he has a better chance of starting at guard right away. but he could fill in that tackle. They could use that left tackle in the future as well. If somebody goes down, he can help them there. So I do like that pick. Was it crazy value? No, I thought he could have went in the 3rd round, but he was there was a lot of those guys that were like, tackle, pretty decent there. Could play guard, though. Might have upside there. There was a lot of those guys. And I thought after like Skoronski in the 1st round, I thought Daniels was probably the one I felt most comfortable about. Like if he had to play either or more so going to guard. Because I think he's physically strong enough to handle NFL D tackles. Maybe not right away. But he can make an impact early on. So I went with Daniels for the Commanders. And then I got to go Jalin Hyatt for the Giants. They had quite a few good picks. I mean, Deonte Banks is a really good fit. Eric Gray, former Tennessee Volunteer. This is a Tennessee Volunteer. But Eric Gray, I like that pick a lot. But got to go Jalin Hyatt. I thought he was a 1st-round talent. I mean, the elite speed, the dominance that he displayed. I mean, if you find a player that can display dominance, it's a good sign. It's a good sign there. Looking at an Alabama game, if you worry about maybe he's got a thin frame. He plays tougher than that. He's tougher after the catch. He can block. You worry about him not facing a lot of press. Well, you can put him in a slot where he did play, and he won't see a lot of press, and you have to respect his deep speed and his deep ball tracking ability in his hands. So it's what the Giants needed. Love that pick for the New York Football Giants. DeMarvion OVERSHOWN. I was a big OVERSHOWN fan. My number 4 linebacker in the class. Tons of upside. Was a safety turn linebacker and pretty damn good for that. Showed improvement this year big time. So that tells me he has upside at reaching legit NFL linebacker potential. I like his athleticism, his safety background, can cover. He's got ridiculous range. He can get downhill. He can blitz from inside and outside. Just feels like a really good guy to pair with Micah Parsons. Another one, was it extreme value? No, I thought he would go in the 3rd round, but I would love him in the 3rd round. I knew I was going to love it. I just love the fit. Good player. Underrated, too. Nobody was really talking about him like that. Keely Ringo for the Eagles. Yeah, we thought maybe he can sneak in late 1. He does have to brush up on his technique a little bit. But he has the upside, freak athlete, good experience in that Georgia defense, which was the closest thing to NFL. Not just the talent, but how it is called as well. So that's big time as well. So it's a steal in terms of value. And it's just a corner that has all the upside in the world, but needs to refine some things, needs to learn a little bit, goes to sit just behind Darius Slay and James Bradbury. I think that's a pretty good situation if you ask me. Then you got the Ravens. This was a tough one, actually, because Trenton Simpson I thought, he was going to be more of a 4-3 outside linebacker, because remember, he actually played more in the slot than linebacker before this year. So he's kind of a coverage linebacker, needs to work on, filling lanes, holes, and instincts a little bit. So I did think he'd be an outside linebacker in 4-3 where he can use him in coverage a bit, maybe line up in the slot a little bit. And he doesn't go to that. He goes to the Ravens, who run more of a 3-4. So you do wonder about the fit, but it is really good value. And I do like the idea of it, sitting behind Patrick Queen for a year and then maybe taking his spot, who they liked as kind of a blitz inside linebacker. And Simpson can be very good in that category, the blitzing linebacker, and I think he can learn a lot there from the Ravens and Roquan Smith, and so I think he maybe can reach that upside on the inside, and it was really good value. Thought about Voorhees. We won't see him play this year, but that was pretty good value there for the Ravens. But a unique one here in Trenton Simpson from Clemson. Cedric Tillman for the Browns. The Browns got a lot of steals. They had a really good draft. I mean, they might have had the best draft I've ever seen for a team not having a first or a second. It was pretty ridiculous. But Tillman, I thought, could have snuck in late 1, but I thought more likely early 2. And the Browns get him in the 3rd. Legit X-receiver, was dominant in 2021, had an injury last year, was still good when he played, really good catcher in traffic. I think he's going to catch the ball a lot this year for the Browns. So I think it's a really good fit. I think somebody you can pair with, Amari Cooper, and maybe an Elijah Moore for the future. I think that's a type of guy, that is good for Deshaun Watson here. So I really like that pick from the Browns. The Steelers, they had an amazing draft from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I got to go down to the 7th round pick, actually, for their best one, even though the best one is all over the place because I love all their picks. But Corey Trice, to me, was a 2nd round corner. Yes, he had a past injury that caused him to slide a little bit, but if you watch him, 6'3", long corner, knows how to use his length, whether it's pressing, sticking, keeping a hand on the receiver, riding the hip, which you're allowed to do, and then making a play on the ball with his length as well. You see the physicality. You see how good he is tackling. You see him good in man, zone, press, off. I mean, the guy was too good to be available in the 7th round. It's still a little confusing. And the Steelers needed corners very badly. They got one that will be a sure thing starter in Joey Porter Jr., but watch out for CORY TRICE here. Good situation to go into. Patrick Peterson's a good guy to learn from. Maybe take some reps away from Peterson because maybe he doesn't have a whole lot in the tank there. So this was an insane steal. Just absolutely insane. Like maybe the biggest one of the draft. For the Bengals, I got to go with the 1st round pick, Myles Murphy. I thought it was a steal. I was... maybe not a lot of people are saying that's a big-time steal, but I was probably higher on Myles Murphy than anybody. I think he's going to be a really good pass rusher. I'm actually more confident about that now because I think it's a perfect fit with the Cincinnati Bengals. They get the most out of their defensive players. They know how to develop them. And he's a more athletic Trey Hendrickson, too. I mean, that's perfect there. And then Hubbard even slides inside sometimes because he's a really good run defender. So you can use all three, meaning Murphy and those, they're 2 studs they currently have. So I think he's going to reach his upside. Really good value pick. It's the perfect place. It's the perfect place for him to win. So value and fit in the 1st round here is why Myles Murphy and the Bengals are on this video. Every team's on this video, but you get what I'm saying. The Lions taking Brian Branch in the 2nd round. Brian Branch was one of my favorite players in the draft. I mean, the Lions had a weird draft because they have like these wow, like they had wow moments all over the draft, whether it was good or bad. But Brian Branch, he's really good at football. He's really good at football. I mean, he's categorized as a safety, but he plays in the slot, and he's absolutely dominant in the slot. He could play strong safety, which we might see a little bit of because they do have C.J. Gardner-Johnson there, which they'll like in the slots. That's a tough part, is how much is Branch going to play right away, and is he going to be? I'm a little worried that because he is just so good in the slot. Like, I'm sure he's such a good football player that if they move him out of position, like strong safety, I don't see him playing free, especially they have Kirby Joe, so they're not going to put him at free. If they move him around a bit, I think he'll still be a good player, and I'm no doubt he'll be a good player in the future. I don't think Gardner-Johnson will be around for a while, so I think Branch will go back to not only playing the slot, but dominating the slot, start in another year. But, if they're going to play him, they'll play him out of position maybe, and then maybe he won't look as good as I'm hyping him up to be. I just want him in the right spot, So that's the tricky part with year 1, which, you don't want to judge everything off draft classes off of 1 year, but at the end of the day, that's what people judge you off of, really when it comes to like my grades, rankings. I've noticed people want to judge you off 1 year. But Branch is a phenomenal football player. He's in every category. Zone man, the physicality against the run, flying up at the ball, whether it's already in someone's hands or it's in the air. Instinctive player, tough dude too. So that was an epic steal. Bears, I'm going to go Tyler Scott. Thought about Terrell Smith as well. Yeah, I thought about him from Minnesota because that was pretty good value. Scott, though, I thought this was a guy that was actually going to go earlier than. Sometimes I get the feeling, that there's guys that I like, they're good. I had Tyler Scott early round 3 grade on him, and I just had a feeling he was going to go earlier than I had him grade. I thought somebody was going to be I thought there were going to be plenty of teams that were going to be higher on just a feeling, and that was wrong. Obviously, he ends up being a steal for the Chicago Bears here in round 4, and we might not see a whole lot of him right away because he might be the 4th receiver on that team. The Bears went from having an awful receiver, like maybe the worst in football, to having a pretty damn good one with DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney. I love those guys. Chase Claypool. I love the talent that's inside him. Let's see if they can get it out of him a little more. I think they could. I think it's in there somewhere. Just maybe them passing the ball a little more consistently. Sometimes they would go away from it last year, but so he could be the 4th receiver. But Claypool and Mooney, I mean, there's a shot they're not around forever because the expiring contract's coming up here. So good to get a shifty, speedy, guy that can get open and catch the ball, and also motion game. He's good. It feels like a good receiver for the motion game, which is kind of taken over, and which I think the Bears are going to use quite a bit. So, this could be a future one for sure. But like Scott for the Bears. The Vikings, I got to go with their 1st round pick, Jordan Addison. I mean, I think there's a good shot that Addison was their number 1 receiver on their board. Can't say that for sure, but just based on what he's done, you know, and what they're looking for. We saw Jefferson play outside and inside. We saw Thielen play outside and inside. Osborne is more inside, but plays inside and outside. And they lost Thielen, you know, and they needed somebody that can do both and that can run routes, get open, you know, maybe better than Thielen has recently as he's declining a little bit. And I think Jordan Addison was kind of that perfect guy, because there was some other guys in the class where he's just an inside guy, or this guy is more of an outside guy, but then he needs to be more of an inside guy in the NFL. And there's this guy that's only an outside guy. And then Addison, where it's like, all right, USC, he was outside and inside. He was very good on the outside. And then 2 years ago in Pittsburgh, he was an inside and outside guy. He was better in the inside, 2 different roles, 2 different, you know, teams, systems, and he's dominant at both. It's pretty damn impressive. And he's a motion guy too as well. It just seems like the perfect guy to replace Thielen, basically. So, and it was pretty good value on top of it. So I thought that was the Vikings' best one there. The Packers killed the 7th round. They absolutely killed it. Some really good value picks. It was tough to pick one out because they had maybe the best 7th round I've ever seen in my life. And they've had a good, I thought about Carl Brooks, who was not a 7th rounder. I really thought about him for this, actually. So I thought it was a pretty good value pick. He is a little bit of a tweener, but I think the Packers will figure it out with him. I think they can actually use him in multiple spots. I think he's going to be good. So I thought that was a good one. But I'm going to go Anthony Johnson Jr. here because I thought he could have went as early as the 4th round. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised the third round. And this is a guy that played outside corner, and then Iowa State moved him to, they had him listed as safety, but he played, and he did play a little bit of safety, but he was mainly in the slot. And he was good there. I thought he was good outside corner. I thought, you know, he's good at coming up and being physical as well. So this is a guy that I think I can see him going back to outside corner. And obviously he wouldn't start for the Packers, but I can see him helping him on the inside. I can see him playing, you know, more of a strong safety role, which they could use right now. So I could see them using him everywhere. I thought it was really good value. But the other 7th round picks, were really good as well. I thought about those guys, and then like I said, Carl Brooks. I could argue Carl Brooks in this spot as well. So yeah, the Packers got quite a few players this year in this draft. Colts had a really good draft. Tough to pick one because they had a bunch of steals, really good picks. I'm gonna go with Josh Downs. I would have actually been good. Not too many people said this, but I would have been good with somebody taking Downs end of round 1 because he's talented. I think he's a safe pick as well because he dominated. He was very productive. He's got great footwork. He gets separation. He's a freak athlete, not just with the speed on the field, but with the, you know, the explosiveness. He can go up and high point the ball. He wins on contested catches. The only downside is a little on the smaller side, but he plays a lot bigger than that. So I think it's a guy. And the downside is he's probably never going to play outside. Maybe some snaps. You know, to me those aren't big negatives. You put him on the inside, you let him go to work, he's going to help you a lot. And the Colts, I think, will benefit from adding this guy. So that was a good value pick, something that the Colts needed. I think he'll be productive right away. Titans, Jalen Duncan was another one of those guys. They get him around 6. Another one of those guys I actually thought would go earlier than I thought, than where I had him graded. Because I had him graded in the 3rd round. You like the idea of him. He's big, strong, athletic, long. And he's had good plays here and there, like good play here and there, I should say. He has got beat a little bit. He's got to refine his technique a little bit. He did work with Duke Manyweather, who's like an offensive line guru. So I thought for all of those reasons, like the good ones I just said, he was going to go earlier than expected because of his upside. And he dropped around 6. And his tape really wasn't that great. So that's probably why. But this is I would have said your day 2 Broderick Jones, who went in the 1st round, but ended up being the day 3 version of him. So I think this is really good value for the Titans, and I think since they have Nicholas Petit-Frere at right tackle, and they added Andre Dillard for left tackle, and I think Skoronski for guard, or you can flip that. Could they put Skoronski at tackle? I think most likely the first way I said it. So Duncan can sit and learn for a year or 2. And then I think he'll be the future starting left tackle for the Tennessee Titans. Unless Skoronski's there and dominating there, which maybe he doesn't start there, but maybe he ends up there because of an injury. And then Skoronski ends up being just dominant there and he stays there. I could see that as well. But this is really good value. I thought he was gonna be like a surprise, like early 2nd round pick, like surprise me maybe. Then The Jaguars going to go with Antonio Johnson, who I thought could have been a second-round pick from Texas A&M, a safety that played a bit in the slot. He played some free safety too. They had some cover 4 and cover 2 looks where I guess neither are free and strong, but they both got deep, cover 4 quarters, cover 2, cover deep halves in the shell coverage. So he actually did play a little bit of that as well. But I did like his play up around the box. So I think he'll help the Jags in multiple ways. Like, you need him at slot, you're good. You need him, if you're... I really liked him in as a strong safety in zone. The Jags do run some man, but we can see them run some cover. I think we'll see them run man in cover 3, which I thought Johnson playing strong safety in cover 3 was his perfect, that's his perfect spot. I actually said he was a really good fit with the Bucs because they're mainly that, and we got a former Bucs defensive guy as the defensive coordinator for the Jags. I just realized that, so that actually makes a lot of sense. So he's gonna help them in multiple ways there. So that'd be good. And he's a good player, flashy player, not in terms of interceptions really, but just getting around the ball, making hits. So that's a really good value in round 5. This is a little bit of a boring one maybe. Not the player, obviously, but the Texans taking C.J. Stroud in round 1 is what I got to go with here. The Texans had a good draft too, so I could have picked multiple here. Different guys here, but he's my number 1 player in the draft, my number 1 quarterback, very accurate. I think pro ready. I think it helps that I thought they were going to pass on a quarterback, so that's what it sounded like, and they did it, so that makes it even better. So Texans got their guy for right now, and the future was big time. And again, that's what the top guy on my board. So I love that for the Texans. Saints had a good draft. They didn't have any wow value picks in my opinion. A.T. Perry a little bit. I wasn't a huge A.T. Perry guy compared to other people, I suppose, but that was good value down there still. But I'm going to go with Foskey. I just love the fit. I talked about it even leading up to before the draft. They needed a starter, a potential starter. It's a plug-and-play guy that actually has upside still. He's just such a fit in Dennis Allen's defense that I think he's going to come in and do what he does. He gets after the quarterback, and he's going to come in and do that right away. So just one of my favorite fits of the draft. Sure, there's really no crazy value here. That's where he should have went, but it's still a very good pick for the Saints. The Bucs going to go Trey Palmer. I thought Palmer could have went in the 3rd round. Super speedy, can play the slot outside, gets open, big playability. I guess mainly his routes are post or goes. And there was some body catches. I thought he was getting a little better at that, but I think the body catching is mainly a lot of it on his tape. That's probably why he dropped. But overall, he's a good player. He's a playmaker, and I thought that was really good value for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers there. So I went with Palmer for the Bucs. Panthers, I went with Jamie Robinson. I think it's really good value. I thought he was a 3rd round guy. I had ranked with the slot players because I thought that's where he's best, playing the slot, because he's quick twitch, corner-like enough to cover slot receivers, but he's also physical enough to man up on tight ends, and I think he can fit there in man or zone. And he's really good in the backfield, around the line of scrimmage, making hits, making plays, on the line of scrimmage, behind it, back in the backfield. But he also is pretty good at safety. We've seen split safety looks in the back end for him. Strong, free, more of a strong if I had to pick. I think he's good in either man or zone. We're going to see, the Panthers run more zone, which I think is good. So I think he can help in multiple ways. I think he can play the slot. I think he can play, and we'll see what they do at Chin, where he can move around a bit too. Such a good football player that, we'll see where they line him up mainly. They can use him all over as well. And they have Xavier Woods for free safety, but I think you can get better from there. But I like the fit, the versatility, and the good value here. I thought he could have went in the 3rd round. The Falcons didn't get any crazy value throughout their draft, but I did like the value somewhat here for Clark Phillips, who I think could be a plug and play slot corner. I really like him better zone than man though. And the Falcons, they were pretty much all zone last year. They do bring in the Saints guy, Ryan Nielsen, which was more man though. So doesn't mean he has to stay with that firmly. So maybe we'll see a mixture. but I think he could be a really good playmaking slot corner. I hope more, if he's on the field, more so zone than man, but good young secondary coming together there. Bijan Robinson's going to be the flashiest one here, obviously. He could win Rookie of the Year very easily. For the Broncos, I'm going to go Drew Sanders, my number 1 linebacker in the class. Tons of upside. I've only been playing off-ball linebacker for a year, and you see how he was an edge before that because, even at off-ball, he's really good at blitzing and just pass rushing in general. But he get downhill, or, he's rangy, he can hit you. He could clean up the tackling a little bit. He's got so much upside, he's got pretty much everything there. And I think it's a really good fit for the Broncos, Vance Joseph's defense, which he always has linebackers that are blitzers and, like big time blitzers. And you all even look at a guy like Zaven Collins, like you thought maybe he could be an edge rush guy too. And Sanders used to be a guy like that. And, so I think it kind of makes sense there. Unique type linebacker. So I thought really good value and a tremendous fit there. I thought actually it was more likely I thought for sure he was going to go in round 2. I thought if you told me he's either going to go late 1 or early 3, I probably would have said late 1 actually, just because the upside is ridiculous there. And I felt like he would have been most teams' number 1 linebacker. I guess it depends on scheme, but maybe Campbell ended up being that. It's tough to say just because he went earlier. It just takes one team. Raiders, I'm going to go with Michael Mayer, best tight end in the class for me, even though Kincaid's different. And he might be more flashy down the field. I mean, maybe not though, because Mayer is the footwork is so underrated. Like he gets separation with his footwork and his body, the way he fools defenders. So he's actually very underrated in that category, and he's a phenomenal contested catcher, physical as shit. He's going to catch a lot of balls from Garoppolo. This was a really good value pick for the Raiders. He's going to be fun to watch right out the gate there. Chargers didn't have any, didn't have a whole lot of crazy value picks. But I thought McFadden was a pretty good value pick. I thought he could have went as high as the 3rd round. He was a pretty good tackle for Clemson. He doesn't really have the length to play there, but he does have upside at guard, but it's good that he can play either or. Jamari Sawyer kind of makes you think of that a little bit, which I knew they stole Sawyer. That was one of my favorite players in the draft. I thought he should have been like a 2nd round pick, and they stole him. And he's a guy he's going to start for them now, but he fills in at guard or tackle. I think McFadden could be somewhat similar in that category where he's pretty versatile and he can help them pretty early on if he needs to. He's a good tackle. He's just lacking length. So they might put him at guard, but he could be their best right tackle. I mean, Sawyer could be their best right tackle. I didn't know they're insisting on Pipkins out there, who maybe played a little better last year, but and they get Slater back for left tackle, which is fantastic because that's a phenomenal ball player there. But I guess they got options now. I guess that's a good thing, obviously. Then we got the Chiefs. I'm going to go with Wanya Morris, who I was a fan of out of Oklahoma. The right tackle. I mean, he has the size, athleticism, length that you look for. He's got some good moments as well, showing off that rare skill set. He does need to brush up on the technique a little bit, loses some bounce sometimes. And I think it's a good situation. They have Donovan Smith now on top of Jawan Taylor. Those will probably be the starters. And then Wanya Morris probably learn from them. And then they will probably at one point move in the future, take Taylor. Because it sounds like we thought Taylor was going to play left tackle, even though he's been a right tackle. But now it sounds like Smith will play left, Taylor will play right, which I guess makes a little more sense. But then when Morris is ready after 1 year or two, and because Donovan Smith's not going to hold up forever, do they put Taylor at left then? Like the normal plan, they put Morris at right. I could see that, and I kind of like that. I think Morris to the Chiefs was a good fit, a good landing spot for him. And I would have taken a shot at him in round 2, like in late round 2. So I thought this was actually pretty, even though it might not be said much, I thought it was pretty decent value. Cardinals, B.J. Ojulari, was a big fan of B.J. Ojulari. I thought, he could have went in the 1st round. I think that he did have, he really had one negative. And that was, he struggles to get off blocks, specifically in the run game. Like once a tackle has him, he doesn't really get off. So that was tough because we saw that a lot on tape. But I hesitate a little bit. There could be another negative. He surprisingly had a very poor 3-cone time on his pro day. And that actually is a time that's taken seriously for pass rushers. But it was super shocking because usually the flexible guys, like the bendy guys at the position, are usually really good at timing on that. And he is like the ultimate flexibility bend guy on the outside at the edge position. But he's a good pass rusher. He's got phenomenal moves. You can line him up in different spots as well. He's very young. He's got upside. He's athletic and powerful. A good combination of that. Could shed blocks a little better. But playing the SEC, college tackles seem to get away with more holding, believe it or not, than in the NFL. They get away with it in the NFL as well, but more in college, especially in those big-time conferences. So I would have taken a shot at him in the first round. The Cardinals get him in the second round, and he just feels like a guy to be like an Hassan Reddick. I think he's a little different. Maybe the build is a little different, but that type of player, the way he's used in a Jonathan Gannon defense. So I thought it was a really good fit there. Seahawks had a lot of good picks, but in terms of value, I do think Jackson Smith-Njigba was the better value one there because my top receiver in the class. I thought he was going to go before 20. It's not insane value, but top receiver, definitely thought he was going to go before 20. They get him, and it's a really good fit. It's not like one of those situations where he's got to wait until Lockett's gone or, DK. They need a slot guy, a guy that is a true slot guy, and that could be a dominant trio right there, one of the best in football. So I went with Smith-Njigba for the Seahawks. And then the 49ers, I'm going to go with Darrell LUTER Jr. Wasn't really a big name, the South Alabama corner, but I was a big fan. He's on the thin side, but he plays really physical. Like, he's very physical and press man specifically. He'll come up and hit you as well. Tighten coverage, makes plays on the ball. He's good. He's a good corner. I thought that was going to be, it wasn't going to surprise me, but I thought it was going to be because it's not really a big name. I thought he was going to surprise people and go around 3, but Niners get him in round. The Niners didn't have the best draft in the world, but I thought this was a really good pick here in round 5. Thought about Jalen Graham, the 7th round pick here too, but LUTER was a good pick here. We can see him get reps early on because they could have used a corner here and they got one. I think a good one here. Maybe didn't play the best competition in the world, but I'm not really too worried about it. The Rams, you guys probably could have guessed this one because I was a big Zach Evans fan and I was hyping this pick up. I thought he could have went in the 3rd round. He goes in the 6th. Rams needed a running back. They got a running back here. I mean, they got a guy that can make, he can run the football, and he's a home run hitter. He's got speed. He's not the speediest guy in the world. He's not the most powerful guy in the world, but he's got a good mixture of both. The footwork's really good. He has like the style of he should be able to catch the ball better. That's why he dropped, because he has not caught the ball well at all. I feel like he's got it in him though. And he was a top recruit for a reason. I think he's got a lot of upside here. I think he, like I've said it before, it would not surprise me if he led the Rams in rushing. I know they have a good running back in Akers, and I like Kyron Williams as well. But it is a little open over there based on what was going on with Akers in the past. And, they don't have the legit, that's a Pro Bowl running back. No one's taking his carries. They don't have that, obviously. So, Evans, I'd actually say might have Pro Bowl potential down the line. I think he's that talented. So, sometimes he hesitates a little bit. Sometimes he insists on taking the ball to the sideline. But if that was a thing in the backfield, he takes to the sideline in the backfield, I would have been cold on him. I would not have been high on him. But it's more of a thing after that, which is still something you want him to, get upfield and hit those lanes. Sometimes he does and looks good. But so it's not the worst thing in the world, actually. If it's in the backfield, it's one of the worst things in the world. That means you're not, you're not trusting your old line. You're not seeing the hole. I like running backs that kind of create the hole rather than go try to do all this fancy shit and try to do something. I like running backs. If there's no hole, you make the damn hole. Some of those backs like that, right now, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, they'll do that. So, with Jacobs, I think, even though he's always been physical, I think he kind of got that all of a sudden this year, because sometimes he would hesitate a little bit. So love that. We're getting off topic a little bit. So yeah, watch out for Zach Evans. The Rams had some sneaky picks though too. So that wraps it up. It's basically my favorite pick for each team because everyone's going to be different here. So let me know if you would change any picks. I'm sure you would in the comments. We're always talking with you on Twitter. We do have a TikTok now. Any links for those that you're looking for, including our sponsors, pinned in the comments section as always. Like, subscribe to notifications on. We have full NFL coverage here. Schedule releases later this week. We'll be talking like that, like crazy on Twitter as always. So follow us there. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.